this. So, you know, learning that, learning, is that the right word? Learning, discovering that the person who birthed you can and will never be able to provide all the inherent things they're supposed to provide for you as that label. So moms, parents, dads, I don't know. I think there's different definitions for those things. But anyway, the people who took part in creating you, who make up your genetic DNA, those people have inherent things they're supposed to provide to that new human that they created. And once you realize that you've been birthed to a person who doesn't have the capacity to ever provide those for you, it's a devastating realization. It really is. Yeah. You know, a lot of people don't understand and don't really ever come to that realization because of the label. They just think, well, this is my mom or this is my dad, so I just have to, I just have to put up with them. I mean, it's inherent. Like, as humans, we have it all throughout our body that we want to have that connection with them. We want them to love us. We want them to support us. We want them to encourage us and guide us throughout life, So even if we are stuck in this toxic loop with these people who have these labels, we just think we have to accept that, well, that's just who they are. And we're just constantly battling and fighting that, for that love and for all those things they're supposed to be providing to us. So, like, throughout that relationship, the toxic, dysfunctional relationship, we're not getting any of those needs met. But you still put up with it because you just think, well, at least they're still in my life. At least, they're, like I'm trying to say, it's like that inherent basic relationship is not there, but you just don't want it to go away, because I think too you have maybe a little glimmer of hope that maybe things will go there, or maybe they will change and they'll be able to, give us what we need. And then we make excuses and we say things like, well, I had a good time with them on this day, or they were nice to me on this day, or they did this for me, on this day. But people should really come to the realization that, you shouldn't have to put up with that, and you don't have to put up with that. If something's not serving you in the way that it should, you shouldn't have to just, regardless of labels or not. I know it's very difficult to come to that realization and be okay with it, and then also actually execute that. I mean, most people have the basic intelligence to realize, this isn't, oh my God, the sun. This isn't really serving me in the way that it should be. And most people know what, like, right from wrong, right? They have that basic understanding. So they know that they're probably not making the right choice, but they also, it's like confusing because that is like, you know, part of your genetic DNA makeup. And, you know, yeah, you're just like holding on to it. Like, why else wouldn't you, right? And yeah, so it's just very hard to accept, even though, you know, most of us have the intelligence and the basic understanding of right from wrong. So even if we're continuing to put up with the dysfunctional and toxic cycles from these people, we know that it's not the right thing. It's just very hard to break free from, especially to me personally. It took me a long time to realize, you know, I'm like 20 years in, and I'm like, I couldn't comprehend it. It's like, why does this happen every time? Like, you know, every time I'm around this woman, I mean, obviously I was robbed of a relationship with my dad, unfortunately. Yeah, but, you know, sorry, just being human here, for, you know, at least 20 plus years of my life, I'm like racking my brain, like, you know, just having these situations, you know, where it's like this dysfunctional loop and this toxic loop of, why does this keep happening? Like, I just want this woman to love me. And, yeah, I just want this woman to love me, and it's just not happening, you know. And I just didn't know, like, I just didn't understand, like, what was, you know, I didn't, like I said, as much as we have the basic intelligence to know, like, right from wrong and all those kinds of things, it's, you know, it's difficult. We don't really understand exactly what's happening when it's happening, especially when it is a person who makes up your genetic DNA and stuff. It's hard to, you know, so for me, like I said, I was dealing with it for, you know, nearly like 20 plus years, and I'm like, what is this? Like, why is this way? Like, you know, just the constant like dysfunctional toxic loop, the back and forth, the, you know, it's like, yeah, you know, then you get like love bombed, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe this is, you know, it's just very confusing. And it took me a long time to realize what I was dealing with. And, you know, then you start making connections, and maybe there's certain labels that help you realize that. And nowadays too, there's certain support groups that you can reach out to, because yeah, you're not alone. There's lots of parents, or whatever label. I mean, I think that there's different definitions. We shouldn't, you know, be using, you know, X, Y, and Z, because I think they mean different things. But, you know, I'm just trying to make a point right now. So, yeah, there's support for that, because yeah, there's lots of, you know, people who bring a new human into the world, and, you know, they probably didn't, they probably just did it because it's the societal pressure, or even it was an accident, or, you know, in my case it was because she was trying to fix a toxic relationship that she was in with my dad. So she thought, well, if I have children, then, you know, he'll be good to me, he'll love me, he'll change. And my dad was an active addiction throughout their entire relationship. I mean, not that it necessarily matters, but it's part of it. But even if someone's not in active addiction, I mean, having a child, and, you know, is not gonna necessarily change that person. But a lot of women have that train of thought, that they think, well, if I if I create a new human with this person, then for sure they're, they probably make stuff up in their head, like, they probably have these visions and images in their head of how it should be or how they want it to be, so they just try that out and think, okay, this will change everything, but it doesn't. So I don't know exactly, but sometimes people can be born with this personality defect, or it's caused by trauma too. So it could be childhood trauma, or maybe a relationship trauma. Regardless of that,